Hey, gang, welcome to the INSIDEWAG Nutrition Podcast. I'm Josh.
And I'm Chris.
And real quick, hey, before we get going here, don't forget if you're interested in one-on-one nutrition coaching, please go to workingagainstgravity.com/join and use the code INSIDEWAG. All caps, no spaces. Oh, it doesn't even have to be all caps, does it? It can be
No,
anything.
lower,
Just no,
upper, whatever.
lower, upper, whatever you choose, gang.
Yeah.
You can choose capital letters if you're into that, lowercase, whatever. Get $50 off your first month. It's going to be great. It's going to be well worth it. So, wanted to get that out of the way. Chris, what's up? What are we talking about today?
All right. On today's podcast episode, we are talking about how to actually eat to feel full or stay full.
Wow.
Yeah. Hot topic.
What a concept. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. So if you've been training harder or you're feeling a little stressed and your hunger levels are feeling higher than usual, or maybe you're having a hard time tolerating the calorie deficit that you've set for yourself, or if you're working with one of our amazing WAG nutrition coaches, the calories that they have and macros they have set for you are a little hard to stick to kind of force that next level of fat loss. The way to do so is to stay as full as you possibly humanly can on that amount of calories.
Mm-hmm.
And we do that by making wiser choices with our food. And so now's the time to, talk about taking advantage of some strategies to curb those cravings early on and make sure you're feeling full after every meal. This is going to help you avoid the temptation to overdo it with snacks between meals because you're actually getting ahead of the problem, before you allow it to become one, as we've mentioned many times on the podcast before.
Yeah.
And so, or just reducing the risk of, right there, we're basically just trying to do the best we possibly can to reduce those moments of increased or intense ravenous hunger, to make this enjoyable and sustainable, because those are the sustainability, enjoyability, and honestly tolerance of the calorie deficit are three of the primary factors of the success of your dieting phase, whatever you find yourself in, and for however long, right?
Yeah, totally. And we're going to talk about like implementing all these strategies that we're going to talk about kind of as we go. But I wanted to say, like, right off the bat, that we're going to talk about a lot of different ways to achieve all those goals, all those things that Chris just said. But keep in mind that you do not, if you find yourself in this kind of headspace or this position as you're going through a diet, you don't need to implement all of these at one time. This is something that I talk to a lot of clients about, and we try different approaches. Something works for different people better than things for other people. So it's like, it's always going to be important to talk to your coach, and let them know how you feel and how you're doing. And they can kind of like help you decide on which course of action to take, because you don't want to play all your cards all at once, because then you got nowhere to go. So keep that in mind as you listen to this. It's a list, and you might think like, oh, this sounds like a lot. And it's like, well, it doesn't necessarily have to be. It can just be like one of these things. See how it works. If it works, great. Keep on going. If it's not for you, you could try a different method, So, I just wanted to put that out there.
100%. Yeah. It's not like the ultimate checklist of what to achieve at every single meal or snack, right? Like you're not, we're not trying to overload you. We're trying to give you options to try, do it for a little while, see what the difference might be. Like it may just be like right, eating slowly could be a huge game changer for most people, for example, right? And you don't change a single other thing, you don't change what you're eating, but you just eat slower. Miraculously, you just get in tune with your actual hunger instead of just like piling it down because you're in a hurry, or like you have this feeling like, oh, there's not going to be any food tomorrow, I better eat this as quick as I possibly can, right? Like we get sometimes. And you just realize eating slower is the cure all, right? And then you don't have to worry about anything else we said. So
that's right.
That's right.
That's one of the top things that we'll count that as number one on the list, is just eating slow. I would challenge anyone to take a look at the clock when you sit down for a meal, like for dinner, and then when you get done, look at the clock again. Because you probably eat a lot faster than you think. I know that like when we have dinner here at the house, there's our table, and like directly across is our stove, and there's that little clock.
Oh yeah.
So I like constantly see it, and I'm like, oh my God, it took me 6 minutes to eat dinner the other night. It's like, Dude, that is nuts. That is
Yeah.
so fast, and but you don't even know it because you're so used to it.
Right.
So, yes, slow down, gang, and I would
Hmm.
actually encourage you to time yourself because you might
Mm.
be shocked.
Yeah.
um,
So what's the intention behind that though? Like tell us more. Why
oh,
will we eat slowly?
well,
Why does that benefit oneself?
so there's a lot of there's a lot of things that happen, but the primary one is that it actually takes your body about 20 minutes. I think it varies from person to person. 15 to
Mm.
20 minutes is generally accepted as the window of time that the satiety signal actually hits your brain.
Mm.
So this is why if you eat super fast or you eat like stuff like I think French fries is one of them, or potato chips, things that are salty and that are very nutrient dense. They're what's the potato chip?
Calorie dense, you mean?
Well, yeah, but I'm saying
Right.
like
All right.
what was like the advertisement for potato chips? Like you can't have just one. Is that
Oh
something
yeah.
like that,
Or
right?
once you pop, you can't stop, like
Yeah, that's
Pringles
the
or something, right?
Pringles
Like
one,
yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
like, yeah, once you have one, it's like how many can you shovel in? And normally with foods like that are high palatability foods, it's very easy to eat a lot very
Yeah.
quickly
Oh yeah.
before that satiety signal even hits, and then you're like, "Oh Lord, I just
Mm.
ate a bag of potato chips, and I've been sitting here for 5 minutes."
Right.
And then it hits you like later on. So all of a sudden, we have a really, really good meal, and we eat it a little bit slower. Your body has time to register that food and those calories, all the
Hmm.
energy that's going into your system. And slowing down allows your body to actually feel that, and you just feel full.
Yeah.
Um, you may feel full. I was going to say feel full faster, but that's not necessarily true. It
Hmm.
registers.
It
Um,
registers. Yeah.
yeah. Another thing that you can do, like to kind of help yourself with this, is if you're running into this problem anyways, you can just put your fork down, take a bite, and put your fork down, and that's a good way
Yeah.
to kind of like slow yourself down.
Mm.
That's something that I've used before.
Yep.
And
Well,
then
yeah,
there's
that
all. Go ahead.
takes some time to actually enjoy that bite.
Yeah,
Chew it.
chew.
Move it around your mouth, right? Feel
Yeah,
those
chew your
textures,
food.
flavors. Do you even like what you're eating? You
Yeah,
know, like
yeah, chew
be
your food.
aware, be present. Yeah.
Yeah. That's another one is actually like I've done this before too. Like I've counted how many times like I've like chewed my food. It's
Mm.
shockingly low when you're not
Hmm.
thinking about it, and then all of a sudden you're like I'm gonna chew this food like for 10 bites, like 10
Yeah.
times. This sounds very like people would listen to this and probably like these guys are psychos. Like
Yeah.
you're like,
Right.
but
Who does that, right?
yeah, right. But it's just like these little things make a big difference, and if you're sitting
Hmm.
there, you don't need to announce it to your family or the world, like, hey, I'm going to eat really slow tonight, guys. I'm just going to chew all my food
Yeah.
for
Or
for
be
a super
counting
long
out
time.
loud. One,
Yeah.
two.
One, yeah. You
Yeah.
don't need to do anything crazy like that, but it's
Yeah.
like just slowing down and being more mindful of like how long
Hmm.
it's taking you to eat your food. It helps out a ton. So that would be like one of the top things we could offer is make the food last a little longer, go a little slower, and
Hmm.
you'll feel it. You really
Yeah.
will.
Yeah, and that's we call that. It sounds like a dirty word, but it's called mastication, right? It's like
Yeah.
the chewing, the act of chewing and breaking down your food into smaller particles that once they hit the stomach, they're already broken up into smaller pieces so that your stomach digestive enzymes and all that can start to actually absorb the nutrients from those foods and do what your body does, partitioning to them, delivering them throughout your body where they go, right?
Right.
And so instead of just like taking a bite, taking two chews of it and then swallowing and putting a bigger chunk or lump of food down, that can also make you feel bogged down
For
as
real.
opposed to actually feeling satiated, which
Right.
there are two
Oh, that's
different,
good. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So like there's a
Yeah.
sense of like wolfing down a cheeseburger and a french fries and topping it off with a shake in 5 minutes or 10 minutes, right? Not even stopping to enjoy it all. And then you're just like, oh, I feel bogged down, right? Like, or you just feel miserable as
I was gonna say
opposed to
miserable. You might feel some other
miserable.
way. Yeah.
Yeah. So like what felt good going down no longer feels good sitting there.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
awareness, that's what it is, and
It's
to help your
yeah.
body do what it needs to do a little bit easier, right? Like,
That's right.
yeah, it's a setup for success in terms
Yeah.
of like your body going through all of its biological processes in the digestive process, the clearing of your intestinal tract, having healthier bowel movements, all that stuff, right? And those are things that affect your weight as well.
Totally.
So
Totally.
yeah, cool. So yeah, eating slowly. I think we got a good grasp on that, right?
Totally.
So, we mentioned this earlier, but like, the next thing we talk about is staying hydrated. So,
Yes.
really, I mean, dehydration is like one of those things that just tricks us into thinking that we're hungry. So
Yeah.
keeping up with your fluid intake to maintain a balanced fluid level in your body is just another avenue of appetite suppression, really. So a lot of times, if you're sitting there and you're feeling hungry, try drinking a glass or two of water, 8 to 16 ounces of water. Chill for a second, and then actually see how you feel. You might be like, "Oh, my body just needed water. Silly me," and you move on with your life, right?
That's right.
And that could have been that one little step that avoided you wolfing down the Pringles and popping and not
Totally.
stopping. What it does is that water helps manage those hunger and fullness cues and can help fill you up, because water also takes up physical space in your stomach,
Hmm.
as food does too, which helps send that's a proponent of sending that satiety signal from the stomach to the brain. It's that
To the brain,
stomach
right?
brain connection, if you will. So, and WAG generally, everyone's going to be different. Your coach might set particular goals for you based on your feedback and all these things, but as just a general guideline, we generally recommend aiming for about half of your body weight in ounces of water. If you
Yep.
can drink more, especially right now where most people are edging from spring into summer, might be spending more time outside. Those CrossFit workouts might start to suck a little more and be sweatier,
Yeah.
and you're leaving your sweat angels. That's a sign to get more water in, right?
Mhm.
Maybe throw some electrolytes in there as well, just to help with all your electrolyte levels and keep your potassium and sodium and all those things up. So,
Totally.
yeah, and if you can drink more, great. But just kind of be in tune with your body. And then another kind of rule of thumb, which is knowing if you're drinking enough water, would be to just keep an eye on your urine, like be somewhere between
Right.
like a light yellow to somewhat clear. You're solid, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Not
I like.
everyone can drink 2 gallons of water a day like Josh, but half your body weight and ounces of water is a pretty good starting point.
Jeez. Yeah, for sure. I like the idea or the tip for electrolytes,
Mm.
because that's something that I think gets missed
Yep.
a lot. And like Chris said, especially if you're training hard, you're sweating a lot, or if you have a really physical job, um, you lose a lot. You sweat a
Mm.
lot. You lose a lot of those like minerals. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, salt. For example. So it's important to kind of like replenish that. And if you're
Absolutely.
dieting and you're looking to like lose weight, you might lack some of those nutrients in your
Mm.
everyday diet. So it's okay to supplement. Um,
Yes.
that's what supplements are for. They're supplements, right?
Yeah, you can get those little rip tabs that are flavored or non-flavored that just have electrolyte packs in them, and
Yeah,
that could make actually your water feel. If you're not a person that's just like water's boring, man,
yeah,
then dress it up a little bit. Can
yeah.
make it taste a little fruitier. Add some extra vitamins and electrolytes in there, and next thing you know, you're wolfing down water. Pretty easy.
Yep.
Or in addition to your water intake, if you've got the calories, you could go for like a full calorie Gatorade or Powerade, something like that.
Hmm.
Or if you don't have the calories to waste on carbs, then go for the 0 calorie
Yep.
versions, and you're getting the same electrolytes, just 0 calories. So,
Yep. Totally.
yeah, I tend to kind of pick up a couple of Powerades and things like that and keep around the house come
Right on.
summertime, or bring with me on hikes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
For us, it's liquid IV or
Mm,
LMNT, like those
yeah.
electrolyte packets. Both those are really, really, really help, especially like if you get in the gym and you're sweating and working really hard.
Hmm.
That stuff can be really helpful. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so stay hydrated, gang.
Hmm.
I know that I talk about that a lot as a coach. I'm sure Chris does too. Um,
Constantly.
Constantly. Yes,
Hmm.
yes. So there's a reason for it. There's
Yep.
a reason for it. Multiple reasons for it.
We are
Um,
mostly made of water. So think
yes.
about it, right?
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
Next one, eat high volume foods. So
Turn up the
this
volume. Yeah.
turn up the volume. That's right. That should be the name of the podcast,
Yeah,
actually.
right. Turn up the
Turn
volume.
up the volume. Gang, we talk about eating vegetables a lot,
Hmm.
and this is part of the reason why. Um, Obviously, vegetables have micronutrients in them and things that are very, very important for us to operate in a healthy way and live healthy lifestyles, I should say. But also, there's not a ton, some vegetables, anyways, some. There's not a ton of calorie content with veggies, yet they fill you up a ton. If you're skipping out on veggies, you're really missing the boat on some important foods for, again, more than one reason, but especially if you're dieting and you're in like the trenches and you're really going through like a hard time trying to make it to the end of this fat loss diet,
Yeah.
and you're not eating veggies, like add them in, and it's like a game changer. It's absolutely a game changer. I know that um, last summer I was dieting, and I was doing the chicken and rice meals, right?
Mm,
And which I love, by the way.
solid.
Iron Chef makes this orange sauce. Do you know
Mm-hmm.
about this?
I
It's the
know of Iron
brand.
Chef, but not the
There's a
orange
brand Iron
sauce.
Chef makes this like ginger orange sauce. Oh man, it's so good.
Okay.
But anyways, um, I
Check
got
them
to the
out.
point where I was eating the chicken and rice, and I was like, I could eat it, and I'd be like, all right, I just ate like all this food, and now I'm hungry again, like almost
Mm,
immediately. You add a cup of broccoli to that, all of a sudden it takes you 30 minutes to eat it.
yeah.
It's crazy how much a little bit of adding vegetables either to the meal itself or having it on the side, like a side salad, for example,
Hmm.
how much that helps you feel full. And the meal gets longer, right? We talked about eating slowly. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
things slow down, and it really just helps you stay in check. So
Yes.
if you're not eating vegetables, gang, like add some more in there.
Yeah. That
It's really
reminds me
good.
of like I think one of the most satisfying meals I've ever made. Um, outside of like a big ass salad, every day
Yeah.
sort of thing when I was in the height of my fat loss phase many years ago and whatnot. But like, what was it? Two chicken breasts, like a pretty good sized sweet potato, and then like a cup or two of broccoli. That meal took me down. Like, it took all my energy. I was like exhausted from chewing.
Yeah.
My mouth was like, oh my God. It took me like 20-30 minutes to eat this thing.
Yeah, for
Because I
real.
was just literally having to put my utensils down, sit there and chew and being like,
Yeah.
all right, sip some water, help break this up, get it down, swallow, and be like,
Yeah.
all right, next bite. And then went into it. And eating that meal was a task.
Yeah.
So one thing I like kind of hit my clients to is like, think about the foods that like, no matter what your desire is, that you can't imagine overeating, right? Nobody
Mhm.
sits down and just overdoes it on broccoli ever.
Right.
Nobody
Yeah.
sits down and overeats a potato. French
Right.
fries, yes. Potato
Yes.
chips, yes. But just a potato with some salt and pepper and the basics on it, nobody will sit there and just be like, I've eaten 5 potatoes and I'm still hungry. Doesn't
Right.
happen.
Doesn't happen.
Right? Same with Brussels sprouts, stuff like that.
Yep.
And the reason being is because, as Josh mentioned, these are nutrient dense and fibrous foods. And the key element of what these things do outside of just the generalization of health and giving our body what it needs to operate at its maximum level, pistons firing and all, whatever you want to
Right.
call it, right? Is that they maximize fullness because they take up more physical space in your stomach because of their fiber and their structure. And then it also takes your stomach and your body longer to digest and absorb those nutrients in your system. So imagine like food sitting in your stomach, and as it starts to enter your digestive tract through the stomach and the intestines and all that stuff, think of vegetables as being this like a foreman on the construction site going, whoa, 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 like kind of slowing things down, right? And keeping things in your stomach a little bit longer because it takes longer for your enzymes to start breaking your stomach acids and all those things to break them down. And then that takes a little bit longer to kind of shuffle its way out of your body. And then it's actually taking time to form healthier bowel movements,
Right.
that will be feel tremendous in the morning to get out of you, right? Like,
Yeah. That
yeah.
fiber, I mean, right there, you
Hmm.
kind of touched on another one is like increase your fiber,
Yeah.
for that very reason.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
slower
And
digesting, and go ahead.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Fiber.
most on that fiber tip, most coaches, when we assign macros, like you're not only getting protein, carbs, and fat, but we are giving you like a minimum of fiber to hit.
That's right.
Um, Usually for women, we kind of keep it around, 10 grams of fiber for every 1,000 calories.
Mhm.
For men, somewhere upwards of like 30 to 35 grams of fiber. Really, what we're aiming for is a window of like 10 to 15 grams of fiber for every 1,000 calories that you're consuming.
Yeah.
And as long as you're kind of keeping that number intact throughout the day, that just kind of justifies and is a confirmation of you getting enough of the micronutrient fiber dense foods in to just be like, check, nailed it. And
Totally.
then all the extra benefits that Josh and I have already covered is
Yep.
to eating high volume foods. And the beautiful thing about high volume foods, and we should not miss this point, is it allows you to eat more food for fewer calories, which yes,
Mm.
Josh mentioned, but like think about like I could eat a Pop-Tart that's going to annihilate 75 grams of my carbs for the day. Sorry, two Pop-Tarts, because really
That's right.
one is a serving size, not two, those
That's right.
bastards.
That's
And
right.
so, and
Yep.
so you eat two Pop-Tarts, 75 grams of carbs right there, as opposed to getting 30 to 40 grams of carbs from a sweet potato and then getting like 20 grams of carbs from some broccoli. You compare those two Pop-Tarts compared to that, those are two different satisfactions, right?
Yeah.
Processed foods just go through you quicker. That's what they're made to do. They're broken down. They're mostly carbs and fats. Your body breaks them down quicker. They process them quicker. They get them out of you. And then you're
Yeah.
going, I'm still hungry.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, dude. It's in the
Yeah.
name,
Yeah.
processed.
Processed.
It's
Right.
it goes into your body basically digested,
Yep.
and it's
Just
like
ready for your body to receive.
yep. Yep.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
yeah, man. So yeah, eat high volume foods, gang.
Yes.
Just
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah, you just get more bang for your buck. Like if
Yeah.
you think about your calories and your macros as a budget and you want to spend your budget on wiser investments for a longer return and a more satisfactory return, micronutrient dense fibrous foods are more bang for your buck. Period.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a no
There you
brainer.
go.
Yep. But it's not easy to do. It takes some time and effort. So it's
Yeah.
just maybe start sneaking in. An apple a day could make the difference, right? Eating an apple for a snack or popping an apple on your plate and maybe eating that apple first, um, could be the thing that helps just curb things a little more.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So,
Definitely.
all right. So, in addition to eating high volume meals and foods, we want to make sure that they're also balanced, right? You don't want
Yeah.
a meal that's just mostly protein, a meal that's mostly carbs, or a meal that's mostly fat. We want to kind of find like a balance for a couple of reasons. One, it helps you keep like a decent pace across your meals and snacks to get you to your bigger protein, carbs, and fat goals. That way you don't have some crazy odd number of carbs and protein left at the end of the day, but you
Right.
satisfied your fats at your first two meals, something like that. So it's kind of like an even split. So just take more time to consider the macronutrient profiles and the ratios that you're keeping at each meal. And like, is it all carbs? Is it all protein, mostly fat? Be aware of when you're popping in those portion sizes, when you're tracking a meal or considering doing things like using a hand measurement guide, whatever it is. Just try to kind of like make it protein centric, pick your protein source first, and then build the meal out from there. Include like 1 to 2 servings of vegetables or a fist size, which is about a cup of vegetables, right? Or a piece of fruit, like a palm sized piece of fruit, fist sized piece of fruit, whatever. And then pick a starchy carb of sorts. And then if you got the fats left, sprinkle that on as like some taste, texture, variety. And then you're moving on, right? And so we're just trying to get a decent spread.
That's right.
One thing that I've done for probably 8 years now, man, is just I just whatever my goals are for whatever phase dietary thing I'm doing, fat loss, maintenance, gaining, I divide the number of meals I prefer to eat to hit those targets. My macro goals by the number of meals I prefer to eat, and that just gives me an approximate
Mhm.
per meal goal to aim for. So if you're aiming and hitting these smaller goals for your protein, carbs, and fat at each meal and kind of maintaining that approximation, you keep the pace and the target to the higher goal far more predictable. You know that if you maintain that structure, you're going to have a predictable amount of protein, carbs, and fats left at the night. And then you don't have to do that game of macro Tetris where you're like,
Right.
okay, what do I have in my cabinet? All right, I'm going to mix some Lucky Charms with some Greek yogurt or something, right, to try to like figure this stuff out. It just makes things so much more predictable, gets you in a routine and a structure, and it just simplifies things, honestly.
Sure.
And that's
Yeah.
it's worked so well for me. And I've seen it work really well for many other clients who just to do that. I mean, you don't have to be perfect. It's just approximate, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's one of the most common things I tell people is we gotta spread these out.
Yeah.
It's so common for folks to not eat nearly enough protein early in the day. Their fats and carbs are gone, and then so they have 100 grams of protein to hit, and like 10 grams of carbs and no fats, at
Yeah.
dinner
Right.
time. So
Yeah.
so looking ahead and dividing your day up like that is huge, especially for protein. Like
Mm-hmm.
if there's one macro that you were going to do that with, we would want it to be protein, gang.
Yeah, nobody wants to eat 3 to 4 scoops of whey protein at the end of the night to make up for that deficit of protein that you're in by the
Yeah,
end of the day, right? Like it's
totally,
not fun.
totally. One thing that I talk about too. Although I might be jumping ahead a little bit. We're talking about this. This
Go
might be
for it.
more of
Let's
like,
jump ahead.
well, the other thing that to consider is meal timing.
Yeah.
Um, and this is a little bit more. I mean, meal timing when it comes to fat loss, like a fat loss phase, isn't as important as some people think, as some people make it out to be, I should say.
Yes.
Um, that being said, your meal timing has to work for you. It I mean, my meal times probably won't work for Chris because I get up crazy early.
Nope.
And yeah, Chris is like, nope, it's not going to work out for him,
Yeah.
but it works for me
Mm-hmm.
and it works really well. And vice versa. Chris's meal times wouldn't work for me. So everyone's going to be different on this. But no matter what, um, make sure that your meal times work best for you. If you find that there's a time during the day that you're not hungry, then don't eat.
Yeah.
Don't eat at that time. If you're not a breakfast person, then that's fine. Maybe you push that first meal to 10 a.m., where you start to actually start to get hungry and you have a snack, and then you have lunch at 12 or 1, and then you have a snack around 3, dinner at 6, something like that.
Yeah.
But don't feel like you have to eat when it just doesn't work for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something
Yeah.
that you can talk to your coach about, of course. But I mean, I work with firefighters and police officers and people that are, that work nights, maybe in a hospital, or they're EMTs.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's like, these general guidelines simply won't work for
No.
these people.
They've got to
There's
fit it in when they can get it in.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Yep. In a very
And
unpredictable way.
yeah, very unpredictable, so it can be tough. And at the end of the day, again, when it comes to specifically like a fat loss phase or a fat loss diet, the timing doesn't matter so much as long as you feel like pretty good about things being evenly distributed. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now you get into performance, and if you're, I'll use CrossFit for an example, just because I do CrossFit and I work out, or I work with some higher level folks that do CrossFit as well. Um, this could go for Olympic lifting or weight, powerlifting, anything, performance driven. Like the rule of thumb, or the saying that I keep telling people and that I keep in my own head is carbs close, fats far.
Mm.
So around your workout window, we want carbs to be kind of notched up, and we want the fats to be further away, because there's no better anabolic combination than high protein and high carbs.
Yep.
Fats get in there. It's fine if it's a little bit, but they get in there and they just kind of disrupt the digestion and the ability to absorb those
Yep.
other vital nutrients.
They slow that process down.
They slow the process down. Exactly. It requires a lot of blood and energy to digest fats. And when you're working out, or you're getting ready to work out, or you just worked out, you want nutrients in your system as soon as possible. So when it comes to timing, I do a little bit of work with some folks in regards to that, making sure that they plan their pre-workout meal or shake, and then their post-workout meal or shake first.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever they have left after that, they can spread it out throughout the day, whatever they see fit. So again, that's might be a little bit specific, but there's just two sides to the same coin, basically.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, it's just as important, not only for the energy and fuel that you need for your workout, but aiding in the repair recovery factor
totally.
on the other side of that too. So like, meal timing approximation that I kind of provide my clients is like, look at like, if your workout's here, look at your meal timing to be somewhere within like a 2-hour window on either side, somewhere within there. But again, it depends on the type of food you're eating. So if you're eating foods that take longer to digest, you're going to need to give yourself a little more room for that energy to be available in your
Right.
workout. But if you're eating things that are more processed, highly processed, that are going to be readily available in 20 to 30 minutes, then you time those a little closer to your workout,
That's right.
and the same on the other side. So
That's right.
something to keep in mind there, because you don't want to, I mean, I've had my moments where I've eaten Chipotle and then gone and tried to do CrossFit in the past, and it's not cool.
Yeah.
A little
Oh,
too full. That would have been more of a better meal for after
after. Yeah.
than before, right?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
yeah, it's just shifting, a little tweaking here and there. Yep, for
Oh
sure.
my God. Have you seen that? Have you seen that Office episode, the Fun Run,
Mm-mm.
the Michael Scott Fun Run, when they do the run for like rabies awareness or something like that? And Michael Scott, right before the race, he's like pounding fettuccine alfredo.
Ugh.
And then he like walks up to the starting line and he just like, of course implodes.
Yeah.
But it's like it's a great example of kind of like you're almost there, but
Yeah.
not quite. Like you don't want to eat something heavy like that and then go
No.
right into training.
Nope.
Something like that would be definitely better, probably the night before,
100.
or even a little bit further out than
Yeah,
that.
it's that carbo loading, if you will,
Yes,
right? Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
you gotta be mindful of it, gang. But yeah, the timing around your training can be a really like important time, if especially if you're looking to maximize performance. But
Hmm.
otherwise, you have 3, maybe 4 other meals during the day that you can spread your macros out nice and
Yep.
evenly,
Yeah.
and you'll get this terrific results and be satiated, be feeling full. Energy levels pretty consistent all the way through,
Yeah.
and that's what we want to do. That's what we
Yeah.
want. That's what we want you to have.
Right.
So
And really what you're doing with that timing is putting the body's number one preferred source of energy to the best possible use in your day,
yeah,
putting it right where it's going to matter, right? It's going to help improve performance, your strength, the ability to lift more weights, your muscle repair recovery on the other side. It's the medicine your body needs to get the most, squeeze the most out of that
that's
hard
right.
work you're putting in, right? Nobody wants to be putting the hard work in and not getting the results. We don't want anybody to feel like a hamster spinning on a wheel, going nowhere, but putting in all this work. So this is
Yeah,
why we do these things, right? Because we
that's
want
right.
to maximize, we want to get some traction, and we want you to be spending your time wisely, and we
Yeah,
do that through that. And on that note too, just so for all those listening here, in the show notes I'm going to link you to our plate templates for lighter or harder training days.
mm,
So
yeah, that's
where
right.
it kind of talks about composition of what to include, maybe what to avoid for pre, post, and maybe even some intra workout stuff too,
Yeah,
so we'll have those resources available to you, as well as an article on how to that goes over a lot of what we're talking about, how to actually feel full. So if what people
yeah,
want to get a little more into the granulars here. So,
cool.
but so in to wrap this up, really, Josh, just to kind of review a couple of things here.
Mhm.
The big thing is just like really knowing the difference between hunger and appetite, right? So,
Sure. Yeah,
and
yeah.
the difference being, right, hunger is your body's need for food, which should be honored. Appetite can be triggered by seeing, smelling, or thinking about food. So that could be triggered by what other people are doing, what you're watching on TV,
Yeah,
smells in your neighborhood, somebody
sure.
grilling, and you're like, that got my appetite going, but you may not be hungry at all, right?
That's
So
right.
there is that difference in just taking a beat to like, wait a second, am I hungry? Or is
Yes.
my appetite being triggered,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Big
You don't
thing,
need to act
big
on
thing.
impulses, gang. You
No, you
don't.
don't, so maybe
Yeah.
take that sip of water, chug a glass of water, reflect back like, well, have I filled this bottle up at least once today? No, let me start there, right? Little
Yeah.
things like that. So and if you find that you're frequently thinking about food, this may increase your appetite and not necessarily hunger.
Mm.
So you can be food focused, and that is, your environment, the food you're keeping around in your scope or your view, your eyesight, the things that are triggering or influencing you in your own environment can have a profound impact on you being able to manage your hunger versus appetite. And so,
Yeah.
but just knowing the difference can help you identify which is which and decide if that snack is necessary, or, you're just looking for something to do, or reacting to appetite. So sometimes this could be a trigger or a signal to be like, I'm just bored. I'm just sitting around, nothing to do. My mind isn't focused on anything. Go
Oh
do that
man.
chore that you've been putting off. Maybe go take care of that little art project, or that like, go fix that squeaky door hinge or something. You know what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
little things that are like
That
maybe been lingering on your mind.
yeah, that
you know,
boredom eating. Oh,
it's a killer. Get
yeah,
you.
it is.
Mm-hmm.
Mindless snacking. Yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
just Yeah, like you said, the difference between hunger and appetite often overlooked. People don't really
Mm,
think about that. You know,
no,
it's a big
no.
one.
Yeah. And just a quick review, some ways to stay busy and move past maybe a potential spike in hunger would be like eat your meal so you're fed to fullness, like get ahead of the problem before it becomes one, reduce that likelihood, run some errands, clean, do some laundry, other busy work to do things on your list, like get some stuff done, right? Nutrition isn't the only thing going on in your life. It is what keeps you alive and what helps you thrive. But there's so much more going on in your world that
Right.
needs your attention too. So like give it that attention, and then you'll give less attention to the things that are averse to what you want to achieve. So,
Yeah.
get after your side hustle, go for a walk, read a book, start tasks that seriously engage you,
Yeah.
hobbies, crafts, arts, or, go learn a new skill. We live in a world where it's so easy to go learn something new, educate yourself on something you weren't aware of. There's so many tools and options out there to seize, really, and
Yeah.
just kind of like find a place of balance and well-roundedness in all things that you're
Totally.
doing, and it just makes you a better person, build some integrity with yourself. I don't know. I think it would just be a fuller, happier person, literally.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Love it, man. That's great. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we covered a lot. We covered a lot in this one, gang.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of rapid. I wouldn't say rapid fire. Took our
No.
time with it a little bit,
Yeah.
but we hope it was helpful. We hope it was useful. Like Chris said, in the notes, we're going to link an article. It's a blog post that we've done before, and there's also a couple graphics that we have, for your plates,
Mm-hmm.
for training days and hard training days, medium, maybe no training days at all. Like how you can kind of break up and make a meal
Yep.
in order to feel like more satiated, depending on what's going on. Um, but when it comes down to it, it's just a matter of planning ahead, slowing down a little bit, and then also if you are working with a coach or working with someone, like figuring out what might be the best time to eat, and
Mm-hmm.
bouncing some ideas off of them, or even just taking a critical look at your day, like being introspective and being like, you know what, at 7 a.m. I'm not really even that hungry. I don't really get hungry till like 10. So
Yeah.
naturally trying something out, push
Yeah.
everything back a little bit, see how it goes for you.
Yeah. Just honor that. Honor what you know to be true.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah.
good. Honor what you know. That's like virtuous, Chris.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's awesome.
I try,
That's
man.
very good. Oh, gangs. Well, that's it for this episode this week's. Chris, you feel good? Feel good
I
about
feel
this one?
great, man. That was great. I feel really
Yeah.
good about that. And I want you guys to feel great too. So as a reminder, use code INSIDEWAG at checkout at workingagainstgravity.com
Oh
slash
man.
join. We'd love to have you work with myself, work with Josh. We
Yeah.
do give new clients coming in actually now to choose their coach. So you can
Yeah, that's
request
right.
your first pick for your coach if you go to workingagainstgravity.com slash team. Check out all of our
Hmm.
amazing coaches, see our lovely faces, look at our credentials, look at our stories, read about us. We're real humans on the other side of this. We're not
That's
some
right.
macro calculator, some BS that whatever. Like we are real people helping real people, and it's what we do. It's what we love to do, and we just want to spread that joy and happiness around the world. And we're making waves. So code INSIDEWAG for $50 off your life-changing one-on-one remote nutrition coaching services. Do it
Awesome.
now. Just do it.
Beautiful. All right, gang. Well, thanks so much for listening and tuning in, and we'll see you next time.